welcome back to the Dethroning Your Inner Critic podcast. So today I am sitting in a hotel room, taking my youngest child, my daughter, to start her freshman year of college. So there are a lot of emotions in this hotel room. We're also going on no sleep because our flight was massively delayed. So my daughter is leaving her friends, she's leaving her family, she's leaving her dog, which may actually be the hardest part. She's excited, she's scared, she's sad, she's overwhelmed. And as I've been watching her move through all of these emotions, I've been thinking about how much courage it actually takes to step into a new chapter of your life, because this is not just a big change for her, it's a big change for me. My husband and I are entering an entirely new stage of our lives after decades of raising children. We're about to become empty nesters, which is exciting and unknown. And at the same time, my business is going through one of the biggest evolutions it has gone through since I started it 11 years ago. And what I've been thinking about this week is we say we want growth. We say we want the next chapter. We say we want our lives to expand, but we don't always talk about what is required to get there, because almost every new chapter requires us to leave something familiar behind. And our automatic identity hates that. So yesterday, my 25-year-old son FaceTimed my daughter, and he said something to her that literally made my heart melt. Essentially, he told her, this is the first time in your life that you've had to navigate this level of change and uncertainty. And of course, you're emotional. But then he said something even more powerful. He told her that eventually she's going to recognize that change and uncertainty are exactly what create a meaningful and extraordinary life. And the more she experiences change, the more she's going to develop the capacity to tolerate the discomfort that comes with it. And he told her eventually some of what feels scary right now in her life might actually start to feel exciting. And he went on to say that there are a lot of people who spend their lives avoiding change and uncertainty, and that's exactly what keeps them stuck. And I sat there listening to him thinking, well, apparently my work is done here because I couldn't have said it better myself. And it made me think about something I teach all the time. The goal isn't to create a life where you don't experience uncertainty. The goal is to become someone who can hold more and more uncertainty without allowing fear to run your life. Now, that is a completely different goal. And this is where the mind method becomes so important, because your brain doesn't want the extraordinary. Your brain just wants the predictable. That's your default operating system, what I have historically called your inner critic identity. That default identity is designed around prediction. So it wants to know what's going to happen. How's this going to work? Am I making the right decision? What if I regret this? What if something goes wrong? What if I can't handle it? And your brain is constantly using your past to predict your future. And that means that when you step into something genuinely new, your brain has a problem. It has no evidence. See, my daughter doesn't know what college is going to feel like yet. She doesn't know who her closest friends will be. She doesn't know what it will feel like to wake up in a dorm room instead of her bedroom. She doesn't know what this version of her life looks like. And because she doesn't know, her automatic mind can interpret uncertainty as danger. But uncertainty doesn't mean danger. Uncertainty simply means new. And I think we confuse those two things all the time. Now, I'm living this too, right along with her, right along with some of you. I can share with all of you that I am only able to navigate the amount of change happening in my own life right now because I have spent years practicing the mind method. I am practicing allowing my authentic self, my adaptive operating system, not my default operating system, to lead my life right now. Because there's a lot I don't know right now. My business is evolving into the Mind Method Academy. I'm certifying coaches in the Mind Method. I'm expanding our leadership development work inside organizations. I'm bringing on new business partners. I'm thinking about how this work can reach far more people than I could ever reach on my own. I'm incredibly excited about it, but excitement and uncertainty can exist at the same time. And in order to create what's next, there are things I've built over the last 11 years that I have to be willing to let go of. Things that worked, things that I loved, things that became part of my identity. And there are moments where my own default operating system says, are you sure about this? And what if this doesn't work? And maybe you should just keep doing what you've always done. Now, that voice shows up, and it doesn't mean I'm on the wrong path. It means I'm walking into territory my brain hasn't mapped yet. And that distinction, I want you to remember as you might be navigating this as well. Unfamiliar does not mean unsafe. Now, this conversation is so much bigger than my daughter going to college or my business changing, because we are living in an era of uncertainty right now. I mean, look at the world we're living in. AI is transforming how we work at an extraordinary pace, and entire industries are changing. The way we build businesses is changing. The skills people need are changing. The way we communicate and connect is changing. And I believe that as technology becomes more powerful, our ability to deeply understand ourselves and to genuinely connect with other human beings is going to be even more important. People are going to need community. They're going to need meaningful connection. They're going to need emotional flexibility. They're going to need the ability to notice what's happening inside themselves without automatically being governed by it, which means our capacity to navigate uncertainty is not just a nice personal development skill anymore. It's becoming one of the most important capacities we can ever develop. And I'm hearing from so many of you that you're struggling with uncertainty in your own lives. Maybe you are also having children that are leaving your home, or you are contemplating a career change. Maybe your marriage is changing. Maybe your business isn't working the way that it used to. Maybe you're thinking about starting something new. Maybe you know you've outgrown something, but you don't know what's supposed to replace it yet. And that space between what was and what will be can feel incredibly uncomfortable. So how do you use the mind method to navigate that? So the first step is the M step, to meet your own default operating system. So first, notice what your automatic identity is saying about the uncertainty, not what's actually happening. What is your mind predicting about what's happening? There's a difference. So maybe your mind is saying, I'm going to make the wrong decision. I'm going to lose everything I've built. That's what my mind is saying. My child isn't going to need me anymore. I'm too old to start over. Meet those thoughts. Don't argue with them. Don't try to make them disappear. Just recognize this is my default operating system, or my DOS for short, trying to create certainty where there is no certainty. The second step is the I step. Investigate the indication signs. Pay attention to what happens when you believe those predictions. What happens in your body? Do you feel the pit in your stomach? Does your chest tighten? Do you start spinning? Do you start overthinking? Do you procrastinate? Do you ask 10 people what they think? Do you try to control everything? Do you retreat back to what's familiar? And do you stay in situations you've outgrown because, well, at least you know how they're going to work? Now, this is incredibly important because that DOS isn't just a thought. It actually becomes a pattern. And once you see the pattern, now you have choice. So the end step is to neutralize the never-ending message. And this is where we stop treating the prediction as truth. So your mind says, I don't know what's going to happen. And instead of desperately trying to answer that question, what if you said, that's true? I don't know. And I don't need to know yet. That's the work. Not replacing every scary thought with a positive one, and not convincing yourself that everything is going to turn out exactly the way that you want. But it is developing the capacity to say, I can be uncertain and still move forward. I can be uncomfortable and still trust myself. I can miss what I'm leaving and still be excited about where I'm going. Both can be true. The D step is decide who leads. Now, this is the most important part. Who do you want to be in the face of uncertainty? So the D step is not how do I make uncertainty disappear? Instead, it is asking, who am I choosing to be while I don't know? So what would your adaptive operating system choose? That's your authentic self. So maybe it would choose curiosity or courage or trust or possibility. Maybe that adaptive operating system can allow you to grieve what's ending without using that grief as evidence that you shouldn't move forward. And then you take the next step from there. Not all 20 steps, just the next one. So my son said something else to my daughter that I think is so important. He told her that someday she's going to have a much bigger capacity for this. And he's right, because capacity is built through experience. You don't develop your capacity for uncertainty by eliminating uncertainty from your life. You develop it by discovering that you can experience uncertainty and still be okay. Every time you walk into something unfamiliar, every time you make the call or start the business or end the chapter or have the hard conversation or walk into a dorm room or let your child go or let an old version of your business go or let an old version of yourself go, you can discover that you can tolerate what you feel. And that's when your capacity expands. And eventually, something really interesting begins to happen. That thing you once experienced as terrifying starts to feel like possibility. Because you begin to understand, I don't need certainty to trust myself. And that right there is the biggest freedom you can develop in your life. So as I sit here in this hotel room and I'm watching my daughter step into an entirely new chapter of life while I step into one of my own, I'm reminding myself of the exact same thing I'm reminding her. We don't know exactly what happens next. We're not supposed to. There are friendships she hasn't made yet. There are experiences she can't imagine yet. There are versions of herself she hasn't met yet. And the same is true for me. And the same is true for you as well. There are people I haven't met yet. There are opportunities I can't see. There are things we will build through the Mind Method Academy that I can't completely imagine yet. And maybe that's the point. Because an extraordinary life requires us to repeatedly walk towards things we cannot fully predict. So if you are in a season of change right now, I want you to ask yourself, what if this uncertainty isn't something I need to solve? What if it's something I need to learn to hold? And what might be possible if I stopped asking my old identity to approve a future it has never experienced? So meet the pattern, investigate what it creates, neutralize the prediction, and decide who you want to be as you take the next step. Because your job isn't to know exactly how the next chapter unfolds. Your job is to become the version of yourself who's willing to walk into it. So thanks for tuning in today. I'll see you on the next episode.